Folks, I can't count the times here lately that I've said, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have caught myself saying that more in the last few weeks than I've ever said it in my life. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I have caught myself falling down into rabbit holes because, first and foremost, I feel as though the Trump administration is just straight up lying to my face. I do not trust a word that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth, J.D. Vance's mouth, and I sure as hell don't trust a word that comes out of Cash Patel or Dan Bongino's mouth, or Robert F. Kennedy Jr., none of these people. I don't trust any of them. I believe they're lying straight to my face. So when I see them lie straight to my face, I go looking for the answers to try to sort through things and figure things out. And the next thing you know, you wind up falling down into a rabbit hole and coming back up going, damn. And it's crazy because it's really made me think. It's really made me think a lot about how people could end up becoming conspiracy theorists. And I've said here on the channel before that there have been times in the past when I was younger, growing up. Yeah, there's conspiracy theories that I got into. But we're in a completely different world now where they've made it into the mainstream and they've almost became like a brand in and of themselves. And it's like, I hear people say things like, yeah, I love being a good conspiracy theory. I love conspiracy theories. And to me, it's like, that's not really something we should love. It's like, that shouldn't be the norm. But when you live in a world where the world is lying to you constantly, you can't help but sometimes go digging for answers. And so I want to explain to you, though, why that I don't talk about conspiracy theories here on the channel, and why that I have people send them to me all the time. And I'll tell you the reason why that I don't talk about them here on the air or promote or push them. And that's not what I intend to do in this video. But the reason that I don't is because anybody out there can make a video and ask questions, and they can point to freeze frames, and they can point to different angles, and they can kind of make the story fit however they want to. So that's one of the reasons why that I always wait till I have evidence in front of me. It's like, I want evidence. And yeah, this person over here may have a really interesting theory, one that I might even be able to entertain, but I don't want to put it out there into the world until we know for sure that that is evidence. And that's just the way that I've always been. So when someone sends me and says, hey, take a look at this, the reason why that I'm not talking about it is because we don't have the evidence for it yet. That being said, how are we ever going to have the evidence for anything when podcasters are running the FBI? How are we ever going to have the evidence for anything when Cash Patel has just absolutely bungled things so drastically? These are the people who built their podcast off of, we're going to release the Epstein files. And now these people are walking it back. They went from saying they were going to expose the deep state to becoming the deep state. We've seen it happen right in front of our faces. And we've saw them completely bungle the death of Charlie Kirk. And so that's what caused me to fall down into a rabbit hole. When I heard them say that a 30-06 bullet stopped right here in his collarbone because he had bones of steel and it was a miracle from God. When I heard that, I said, bullshit. You're not going to put that over on me. You're not going to say to me that this dude had bones of steel. And so next thing you know, I'm falling down into a rabbit hole. And I came across a video from a channel called Range Day Bro. I'm pretty sure, and I'm not going to play it here on this channel. You can go over and watch it yourself, but it's Range Day Bro. And at the time that I sat down here to make the video came up. The video was put out 4 days ago. It says Kirk assassination, new video evidence changes everything. Range Day Bro, and it's got, at the time I sat down in this chair to do it, right now as I'm looking at it over there, it's got 6.3 million views on that one video. And I watched it several times. And they make some very compelling arguments, and they don't seem to be coming from a place that's trying to politicize it one way or the other. It just seems to be coming from a place that, hey, this doesn't add up, and this right here makes more sense if you look at it from this angle. And again, the reason that I'm not showing it is because I don't like to put this stuff out there into the world until we have the facts. But will we ever have the facts as long as Cash Patel and Dan Bongino is the ones in charge? Then I started watching MAGA react to that video. And I fell down into a rabbit hole of listening to people like PBD and Joe Rogan and different people sit there and try to explain it. And here's where I have a problem. Not with that video. I do not have a problem with that video. What I have a problem with is the way that MAGA is falling into this conspiracy theory. Here's why I have a problem with it. They're saying, well, we don't know that the FBI is lying. We're not saying they're lying. We don't know that. I mean, they might not know this happened. They might not know this is what's going on. Would they have said that if Joe Biden had been the president? No. I can't count the times when I was watching them. It was always, what about Biden? What about Biden? What about Hunter Biden? You know, it was always Biden. They always called Biden by name, and there is no way that this could have happened on Joe Biden's watch. I promise you, you would have never heard a PBD or anyone on his show. You would have never heard them say, well, now we don't know if the FBI is lying. They would have been screaming it to the rooftops. They're lying to us. It's the way that they go about it that I'm like, really? You're going to sit there and you're not just going to call this for what it is. You're not just going to call this as one of the biggest clusterfucks that we have ever seen. Okay, so what if it turns out, let's just go ahead and give this person the benefit of the doubt who says in their video that they believe Charlie Kirk was shot from behind, which would change everything and which would mean that Tyler Robinson is not the shooter. Okay. If that's the case, it changes everything. But the FBI, the Cash Patels, the Dan Bonginos of the world, they put this out in there, into the world, before they really knew? You're just going to let them off the hook for that and go, oh, well, they didn't know no better. Really? That's how you're going to spin this, that they didn't know any better? And so they've tried to link Tyler Robinson to violent left extremists and to transgender people and to everything under the sun. They've tried every way in the world to link him to us. But now there's the possibility that it wasn't even him to begin with. So then if it wasn't him to begin with, who was it? And then you start diving down into other rabbit holes and all of a sudden you're going, holy shit, who could this have been? And then you go back to square one, which is, I don't trust the damn thing that this administration is saying to me. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but yeah, I can definitely entertain the Range Bro video more so than I can entertain anything I've ever heard Cash Patel say. And I'm not going to sit here and spin this that, well, maybe they didn't know. I'm going to say they shouldn't put shit out into the world until they know. But from day one, it was bungled. I mean, how many, was it like 2 people that they, detained and said, we got him, and then no, we don't. But every time it was radical left did it. Oh God, here's another radical leftist. And then when they find this kid from a MAGA family, they got to really quick say, oh, he went to Utah. He went to a school in Utah for 1 semester and he got indoctrinated by a radical left ideology in Utah. It's not like they said he went to Berkeley. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's insane. It's absolute insanity. But don't sit there and let these people off the hook and go, well, maybe someone should send this video. One of the guys was like, maybe someone should send Cash Patel and Bongino this video. Maybe they didn't know this. No, that's not what you should be saying. What you should be saying is they shouldn't be in charge of the FBI. 2 podcasters shouldn't be in charge of it. It's insane. It's insane, folks. It truly is. I cannot sit here and watch insanity play out in front of my face and just go, interesting, yeah. No, it's fucking insane. Just say it. Just say it out loud. It's insane that they put all this crap out into the world and then your excuse is going to be, well, maybe they didn't know. They would never say that if it was a Democratic administration. And I do believe, I hope anyway, that we'll have a Democratic administration again. And I promise you, if something happens under that Democratic president's watch, I promise you they will never give them the benefit of the doubt. And you'll never hear, well, maybe they just didn't know. Maybe they just didn't understand. No, jackass, they shouldn't have put this shit out into the world until they knew. That's what should be said. Not, oh, check this out. This guy over here on YouTube did a better job than our FBI. That's what they're saying. They're saying, Range Day, bro, look, man, this guy he did, by the way. He does make a very compelling argument. He absolutely does. And at this point, I mean, if someone said, who's going to be over, I'd be like, oh, I can't trust Cash Patel as far as I can throw him. So yeah, let this guy have a shot at it. But that's not how it was ever supposed to be. We were supposed to have qualified people in there who would know how to not royally fuck something up. And unfortunately, we have a regime from top to bottom who specializes in fucking stuff up. And in the words of John Kerry, when he got in trouble for dropping an F-bomb, they asked him, they said, why did you use that word? And he said, I couldn't think of another word to accurately describe the situation. So that's me. At this point, I don't know any other words to describe this, okay? We had a tragic thing happen. We needed leaders that would bring us together. We needed leaders that would call for unity. We needed leaders who would try to turn down the temperature in the room. And we needed people on the scene of the crime that knew what the hell they were doing and could do it and could give us the facts and the information and not completely bungle the whole thing to where now, are you ever really going to believe anything Cash Patel says to you? Dan Bongino, Bondi, RFK Jr.? Are you really going to believe any of them? I sure as hell ain't. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but